The silence of Sector 7 Alpha was deafening. Yelma adjusted her seat for the fourth time in an hour, fighting the monotony of the night shift at Zephyrian Observation Station. The blue glow of the monitoring screens cast an eerie light across her face as she stifled yet another yawn. 6 more hours until her replacement arrived. "Another thrilling night protecting the Empire from absolutely nothing," she muttered to herself, taking a sip from her lukewarm stimulant drink. The Galactic Empire had maintained peace and order across 17 sectors for over 2 millennia. Every ship in existence was registered, tracked, and monitored. Every movement was logged, every trajectory approved. The system worked flawlessly, boringly so. Yelma's job as a monitoring technician involved watching the real-time spatial grid for anomalies. In her 3 years at the station, she'd logged exactly 2. One was a meteor shower that had been calculated to arrive 6 minutes late, and the other was a malfunctioning transponder on a cargo vessel. Neither had required more than a standard report. Behind the tranquility of space and the rigid order of the Empire lay the ever-present political undercurrents. The High Council maintained control through information and technology. Knowledge was compartmentalized, technological advancement carefully regulated. The stability of the Empire depended on this control, and observation stations like Yelma's were the first line of defense against anything that might threaten it. Yelma stretched her arms above her head, contemplating whether to file her nails or play another round of the strategy game on her personal device, when something on the monitor caught her eye, a small, blue dot where no dot should be. She straightened in her chair, suddenly alert. The protocols were clear. Verify the anomaly, check for system errors, then report to the supervisor. She quickly ran a diagnostic on the monitoring system. No errors detected. The dot was moving fast, impossibly fast. Yelma's fingers flew across the control panel, zooming in on the anomaly and pulling up analytical data. "That can't be right," she whispered, rechecking the calculations. According to the system, the unidentified vessel was traveling at a speed exceeding the theoretical maximum by nearly 40%. More concerning was the complete absence of registration data. The ship simply didn't exist in any Imperial archives. Yelma's heart raced as she initiated the alert protocol. Within seconds, her supervisor's hologram materialized beside her station. "This better be important. Technician Yelma," said Supervisor Vex, his expression stern, even through the static of the holographic projection. "Sir, I've detected an unregistered vessel in Sector 7 Alpha, moving at unprecedented speed. The system confirms no errors in the reading." Vex's expression shifted from annoyance to concern. "Trajectory? Heading toward the Zephyr system, sir. If it maintains current speed, it will reach Zephyr Prime in approximately 6 hours. "Impossible!" Vex leaned closer to the holographic representation of the data Yelma had sent him. "Have you checked?" "All systems are functioning perfectly. Sir, this is real." Vex was silent for a moment, processing the implications. "I'm escalating this to Admiral Zal immediately. Continue monitoring and report any changes. This is now a Class 1 security situation." The hologram disappeared, leaving Yelma alone with the mysterious blue dot that was, even now, moving faster than anything she had ever seen. The boring night shift had suddenly become the most important of her career. Within 30 minutes, the observation station hummed with activity. The night shift skeleton crew was replaced by a full tactical team, and Yelma found herself reporting directly to Admiral Zal, the commanding officer of the Zephyrian fleet. "Show me everything again," Zal ordered, his tall, imposing figure looming over Yelma's workstation. Yelma displayed the complete tracking data, from initial detection to present position. The vessel appeared at the edge of our detection range, already moving at superluminal velocities. No deceleration pattern detected. No response to standard identification queries. Admiral Zal's face remained impassive, but Yelma could see the tension in his posture. And you're certain it's not a natural phenomenon or system error? Absolutely certain, sir. We've run 3 separate confirmations. It's a ship. It's not in our archives. And it's moving faster than should be possible. The Admiral turned to his communications officer. Alert the High Council. We have a potential first contact situation. He faced the tactical team. Deploy the fleet to intercept coordinates. I want a containment formation established before this thing reaches Zephyr Prime. As the Zephyrian military machine rumbled into action, Yelma remained at her station, eyes fixed on the blue dot that had shattered the peace of her night. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire faced something unknown, unpredictable, and potentially dangerous. Aboard the Earth vessel, Terra's Pride, Captain Jake Morrison gazed at the stars streaking past the observation deck. His ship, humanity's first vessel capable of faster-than-light travel, had just crossed beyond the solar system's boundary, farther than any human had ever ventured. Beautiful, isn't it? Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez joined him at the viewport. As the ship's navigator, she had plotted their historic journey. Worth every moment of the 5 years it took to build her, Morrison replied, his eyes reflecting the starlight. How's our FTL drive holding up? Dr. Peterson says it's performing beyond expectations. We're maintaining 1.4 times light speed with minimal energy fluctuation. Morrison nodded, satisfaction evident in his expression. Earth scientists had achieved what many thought impossible. True, faster-than-light travel, without the theoretical negative mass requirements that had stymied previous generations. The breakthrough had come from Dr. Kate Williams, whose work on quantum field manipulation had revolutionized propulsion theory. The first of many journeys, Morrison said, his voice filled with pride. Humanity's stepping out into the galaxy at last. Neither Morrison nor any of the 50 crew members aboard the Terra's Pride had any idea that their maiden voyage had triggered the highest level of alert in a galactic civilization whose existence they had never suspected. They were blissfully unaware that 20 warships were now on an intercept course with their position. The first indication that something was wrong came when Lieutenant Rodriguez noticed an anomaly in the sensor readings. Captain, I'm detecting multiple objects converging on our position. Large masses, moving at high speed. Morrison frowned. Natural phenomena? No, sir. The patterns are too regular. They're ships, Captain, and they're surrounding us. Before Morrison could respond, the communications officer called from the bridge. Captain, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies. It's not in any language I recognize, but the computer is attempting to decode it. Morrison hurried to the bridge, his mind racing. First contact with an alien civilization hadn't been part of the mission parameters. The Terra's Pride was an exploration vessel, not a diplomatic ship. Put it on screen, he ordered. The main view screen flickered, then displayed a humanoid figure with pale blue skin, elaborate facial ridges, and piercing silver eyes. The alien spoke, its words unintelligible to the human crew. Run it through the universal translator, Morrison instructed. The translator, designed to find patterns in unknown languages, would need time to build a conversion matrix. They're closing in, Captain, Rodriguez reported, tension evident in her voice. Forming a sphere around us. We're completely surrounded. Morrison assessed the situation quickly. Maintain current course and speed. No aggressive maneuvers. Open all frequencies. When the communications officer nodded, Morrison addressed their unexpected company. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Terra's Pride. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. We mean no harm. The response was immediate. A brilliant beam of energy that engulfed the Terra's Pride, causing the ship to shudder violently. We've lost propulsion, shouted the engineering officer. FTL drive is offline. Morrison gripped the arms of his command chair as the ship groaned around him. Status report. It's some kind of dampening field, Dr. Kate Williams reported from engineering. "It's suppressing our energy systems. We're running on auxiliary power only." On the view screen, the alien commander spoke again. This time, the translator managed a rough approximation. "Unknown vessel. You will be boarded and escorted to Zephyr Prime for questioning. Resistance will result in your destruction." Morrison exchanged glances with his senior officers. They had no weapons, no defenses, and nowhere to run. "Tell them we comply," he said grimly. "And send an emergency signal back to Earth. They need to know what's happened." As the transmission was sent, Morrison could only hope it would reach Earth before whatever force had captured them decided their fate. In the Grand Council chamber on Zephyr Prime, Admiral Zoll stood before the assembled High Counselors of the Galactic Empire. The 7 members, representing the most powerful systems in the Empire, regarded him with varying degrees of concern and skepticism. "You claim this vessel originated from the restricted zone in Sector 9? High Counselor Mirth asked, her elaborate headdress quivering slightly as she spoke. "Yes, Counselor. From the uncharted system we've designated as dead space, due to the absence of detectable advanced life. Our preliminary analysis indicates the vessel emerged from the 3rd planet of that system." "Impossible," declared Counselor Vex, the oldest member of the Council. "We've monitored that system for centuries. It contains only primitive life forms, nothing capable of interstellar travel, let alone technology that exceeds our own capabilities." Admiral Zoll activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. "Nevertheless, the evidence is clear. The vessel originated from this system and was traveling at speeds our own ships cannot achieve. We've contained it and are bringing it to Zephyr Prime for further investigation." "What of its occupants?" asked Counselor Thrax, whose species was known for their tactical thinking. "Bipedal. Mammalian. Similar in appearance to several known species, but genetically distinct. They call themselves humans, and their planet Earth. Their language has been partially decoded. Initial interrogation reveals they believe themselves to be on an exploratory mission. They claim to have no knowledge of the Empire. That is either a lie or evidence of shocking ignorance," Mirth remarked. "No spacefaring civilization could be unaware of the Empire." Zoll shifted uncomfortably. "There is more. Counselors. Their method of faster-than-light travel appears to be fundamentally different from our own. It's not based on dimensional shifting or quantum tunneling. Their chief engineer describes it as field manipulation propulsion." A murmur ran through the council chamber. The implications were clear. If these humans possessed technology unknown to the Empire, they represented both an opportunity and a threat. "I recommend we extract all information about their propulsion system," Counselor Thrax suggested. "Once we understand it, we can determine whether they pose a genuine threat." "And if they resist?" Mirth asked. "They are a single vessel, far from home," Thrax replied dismissively. "They have no choice but to cooperate." High Counselor Keel, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. "Let us not be hasty. If these humans have developed technology that surpasses our own, there may be others of their kind. We should proceed with caution." Admiral Zoll nodded in agreement. "I've already ordered a long-range scan of their home system. We should have results within hours." "Very well," Mirth concluded. "Keep the humans contained until we decide their fate. And Admiral, ensure that knowledge of their existence remains classified at the highest level. The last thing we need is panic spreading through the Empire over the appearance of an advanced species from dead space." As the council session ended, none of the Empire's leaders realized that the emergency signal from the Terra's Pride had already reached Earth, and that humanity's response was already being formulated. Captain Morrison and his senior officers sat in a sterile white room on Zephyr Prime, surrounded by blue-skinned aliens whose stern expressions needed no translation. They had been separated from the rest of the crew upon arrival and subjected to hours of questioning. "I've told you everything," Morrison said wearily. We're explorers from Earth. This is our first journey beyond our solar system. We had no idea other civilizations existed. The interrogator, who had identified himself as Security Commander Voss, regarded Morrison with obvious disbelief. Your vessel travels faster than any ship in the Empire, yet you claim to be on your first interstellar journey. You expect us to believe that? Dr. Kate Williams, the Terra's Pride's chief engineer, spoke up. Our FTL drive is a recent development. It works by creating a quantum field bubble that... You will provide complete schematics and operational data, Voss interrupted. Our engineers will analyze your technology. Morrison leaned forward. We've cooperated fully. Now I want to know, what's going to happen to my crew? Voss's expression remained impassive. That decision rests with the High Council. Until then, you will remain in containment. As Voss left the room, Lieutenant Rodriguez whispered, Captain, do you think our message got through to Earth? Morrison glanced at the surveillance devices he'd spotted in the corners of the room. I hope so, Lieutenant. I sincerely hope so. On Earth, the atmosphere in the Global Space Defense Command Center was tense. Admiral Sarah Thompson stared at the emergency transmission that had arrived just hours earlier. The message was fragmented due to the extreme distance, but the essentials were clear. The Terra's Pride had encountered alien ships and been captured. How long ago was this sent? Thompson demanded. Based on signal degradation, approximately 36 hours ago, replied her communications officer. Thompson turned to the assembled military and political leaders who had been summoned for this unprecedented crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation is clear. Our first deep space vessel has been seized by an unknown alien force. Captain Morrison and his crew are being held against their will. We need to decide our response. What capabilities do we have? Asked the Secretary of Defense. 12 vessels equipped with the same FTL drive as the Terra's Pride. Thompson answered. All in final testing phases, but operational. They could be ready to launch within 6 hours. 12 ships against an alien civilization, someone objected. That's suicide! Thompson's expression hardened. We don't know the extent of their civilization or military capabilities. What we do know is that 50 of our people are in enemy hands. I'm not suggesting we declare war. I'm recommending a rescue mission. After hours of debate, the decision was made. Earth would not abandon its first interstellar explorers. The rescue fleet, designated Task Force Prometheus, would launch immediately under Admiral Thompson's command. As the 12 ships prepared for departure, Dr. Sam Peterson, the designer of the FTL navigation systems, briefed the fleet commanders. Based on the Terra's Pride's last known coordinates, I've calculated the most efficient approach vector. Our advantage is the precision of our FTL system. We can execute multiple short jumps with pinpoint accuracy, rather than a single long transit. How does that help us? Asked one of the ship captains. It gives us tactical flexibility, Thompson explained. If we encounter hostile forces, we can execute evasive patterns that may confuse their tracking systems. As the final preparations were completed, Thompson addressed the crews of all 12 vessels. This mission is unlike anything humanity has undertaken before. We're venturing into unknown territory to rescue our people from an alien power. We don't know what we'll face, but we know why we're going. No one gets left behind. Good luck, and Godspeed. With that, Task Force Prometheus departed Earth, accelerating to FTL speeds on a course that would bring them to the edge of an empire they knew nothing about, but which was about to learn a great deal about humanity. On Zephyr Prime, the analysis of the Terra's Pride's technology had thrown the Empire's scientific community into chaos. The human vessel's propulsion system operated on principles that contradicted established Imperial physics. More disturbing was the efficiency of the system. It required significantly less energy than Imperial FTL drives, while achieving greater speeds. Admiral Zoll presented these findings to the High Council with undisguised concern. The implications are clear. If these humans can produce such technology with their limited resources, they represent a significant potential threat. Have they revealed the location of their homeworld? Asked Counselor Thrax. They've been cooperative in that regard, Zal replied. They come from the third planet of a yellow star in Sector 9. We've designated it Earth. And our long-range scans? Incomplete. The distance is considerable, and there's unusual interference in that region of space. However, we've detected energy signatures consistent with industrial development and primitive space technology around their planet. Counselor Mirth leaned forward. Recommendations, Admiral? We should dispatch a diplomatic mission to Earth, Zal suggested. Establish formal contact, assess their capabilities more thoroughly, and integrate them into the Empire's structure. Integration, Thrax scoffed. They're primitives who stumbled upon advanced technology. They should be subjugated, not treated as equals. The debate might have continued indefinitely, if not for the sudden interruption from Zal's communications officer. Admiral, urgent report from the outer defense perimeter. Multiple unidentified vessels have appeared in Zephyrian space. All eyes turned to the holographic display as it shifted to show the tactical situation. 12 ships, similar in design to the Terra's Pride, but larger, had appeared at the edge of the Empire's territory. More humans? Mirth asked, disbelief evident in her voice. It appears so, Zal confirmed, studying the data. Their energy signatures match the Terra's Pride. They've somehow traced their missing ship. How is this possible? Thrax demanded. They couldn't have received a distress signal and responded this quickly. Their FTL technology, Zal reminded him grimly. It's faster than ours. They must have launched a rescue mission immediately after losing contact with the Terra's Pride. On the tactical display, the situation was developing rapidly. The Zephyrian defense fleet had moved to intercept the human vessels, forming a blocking pattern. But before they could engage, the human ships vanished from their sensors. Where did they go? Mirth demanded. The answer came seconds later, as the sensors detected the human fleet reappearing, inside the Zephyrian formation. They had executed a precise FTL jump that placed them within the defensive perimeter, without firing a single shot. Admiral Zal watched in stunned silence as the human vessels performed a series of short, coordinated FTL jumps, dancing between the Zephyrian warships with impossible precision. Each jump lasted only seconds, but it was enough to demonstrate their complete mastery of their technology. The message was clear. If the humans wanted to attack, the Zephyrian fleet would be helpless to stop them. They're hailing us, reported the communications officer. Zal exchanged glances with the council members, then nodded. Put it through. The holographic display shifted to show a human female in a crisp uniform. This is Admiral Sarah Thompson of Earth's Global Space Defense Command. You are holding 50 of our citizens against their will. We demand their immediate release and the return of the vessel Terra's Pride. The directness of the demand left the council momentarily speechless. It was Counselor Keel who recovered first. Admiral Thompson, I am High Counselor Keel of the Galactic Empire. Your arrival is unexpected. We were merely conducting a standard investigation of an unidentified vessel in our territory. Your territory? Thompson's expression hardened. The Terra's Pride was in unclaimed space when it was surrounded and captured. Furthermore, we have no record of any diplomatic contact with your Galactic Empire. As far as Earth is concerned, you have committed an act of aggression against our people. The council members exchanged worried glances. The humans' response was not what they had expected from a newly discovered species. There was no awe, no deference to the Empire's power, only a clear demand backed by the implicit threat of their superior mobility. Perhaps we can discuss this matter more diplomatically, Counselor Mirth suggested. If you would consent to come to Zephyr Prime. Negative, Thompson interrupted. We will remain with our fleet. You will bring Captain Morrison and his crew to these coordinates for transfer. You have 1 hour to comply. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. "They're giving us ultimatums?" Thrax finally sputtered. "These primitives dare to threaten the Empire?" "They're not threatening," Zal said quietly. "They're stating their position from a place of tactical advantage. Did you see how precisely they executed those FTL jumps? Their navigation technology is extraordinary." "So what do we do?" asked Mirth. "Surrender to their demands. That would make the Empire appear weak. And refusing would risk open conflict with an unknown power whose technology exceeds our own in key areas." Keel countered. "I suggest we comply with their request for now, return their people and their ship, then open diplomatic channels from a more equal footing." After much debate, the Council reached a consensus. The humans would be released, but the Empire would begin immediate preparations for whatever might come next, whether diplomatic relations or military confrontation. In the detention center on Zephyr Prime, Captain Morrison and his crew were startled by the sudden change in their treatment. Their alien guards, previously cold and intimidating, now moved with an air of nervous efficiency as they escorted the humans back to a shuttle. "What's happening?" Morrison asked Commander Voss, who was overseeing the transfer. "You're being released," Voss replied curtly. "Your people have come for you." Morrison exchanged surprised glances with Dr. Williams and Lieutenant Rodriguez. "Our people? You mean Earth sent a rescue mission?" Voss didn't respond, but his tense posture told Morrison everything he needed to know. Somehow, against all odds, Earth had managed to send help, and whatever they had done had been impressive enough to secure the crew's release. As the shuttle departed Zephyr Prime, Morrison got his answer. Through the viewport, he saw a formation of Earth vessels, 12 ships of the same class as the Terra's Pride, but armed and arrayed in a defensive pattern around a central command ship. "My God," whispered Rodriguez. "Those are the prototype vessels. They weren't supposed to be operational for months." The shuttle docked with the Earth command ship, and as Morrison led his crew aboard, he was greeted by Admiral Thompson herself. "Captain Morrison," she said with a smile. "Welcome back." "Admiral," Morrison replied, saluting. "I'm impressed by the rescue operation." Thompson's smile widened slightly. "Let's just say we made quite an entrance. The Zephyrian fleet wasn't prepared for our jump capabilities. We demonstrated some tactical maneuvers that got their attention." "Without firing a shot," Morrison noted, looking at the tactical display that showed the Earth fleet still in perfect formation, with the Zephyrian ships maintaining a respectful distance. "That was the plan," Thompson confirmed. "Show strength, but avoid escalation. Now we're moving to Phase 2, diplomacy." Within hours of the Terra's Pride crew's release, preparations were underway for the first formal meeting between Earth and the Galactic Empire. The High Council had proposed neutral territory, a space station at the midpoint between the current positions of the two fleets. As the diplomatic teams made ready, Admiral Zal conferred privately with Counselor Keel. "Do we understand what we're dealing with yet?" Keel asked. Zal shook his head. "Not entirely. We've analyzed their jump patterns during the encounter with our fleet. The precision is unsettling. They can calculate FTL transitions with accuracy that our systems can't match. And their weapons. That's the curious part," Zal replied. "Despite their tactical advantage, they made no aggressive moves. Our sensors detected weapon systems on their vessels, but they remained powered down throughout the encounter." Keel considered this. A show of restraint or confidence? "Perhaps both," Zal suggested. "They demonstrated they could penetrate our defenses at will, then deliberately chose not to escalate. It's a sophisticated approach for a species we believe to be primitive. Which raises questions about what else we might have miscalculated," Keel said grimly. "The diplomatic team should proceed with caution. We need to learn more about these humans before we decide on our long-term strategy." On the Earth command ship, a similar conversation was taking place between Admiral Thompson and Commander Lisa Park, Earth's chief diplomat for the mission. What's our objective here? Park asked, reviewing the briefing materials on the Empire. First, formal recognition, Thompson replied. We need them to acknowledge Earth as a sovereign power, not a subject to be integrated into their empire. Second, a non-aggression pact. And third, an exchange of scientific and cultural information. Park raised an eyebrow. You think they'll agree to share technology? They're curious about our FTL drive. We're curious about their 1,000-year-old civilization. There's room for negotiation. And if they refuse? Thompson's expression hardened slightly. Then we maintain our tactical advantage and keep our distance until a more favorable agreement can be reached. But I'm hoping it won't come to that. First contact shouldn't be defined by conflict. The diplomatic station was a marvel of alien architecture, a massive ring structure with artificial gravity and transparent sections that offered breathtaking views of space. The human delegation, led by Commander Park, was escorted to the central chamber, where representatives of the Galactic Empire waited. The negotiations began tensely, with both sides cautiously probing for information while revealing as little as possible about their own capabilities and intentions. The Empire's representatives seemed particularly interested in Earth's political structure. You mentioned a global space defense command, noted the Empire's chief diplomat, a tall being named Zorix. Does this entity govern your entire planet? No, Park explained. Earth is organized into sovereign nations that cooperate on matters of global importance through various international bodies. The Space Defense Command is a multinational organization responsible for protecting Earth's interests beyond our atmosphere. Fascinating, Zorix replied, and inefficient. The Empire provides centralized governance across 17 sectors. Our system eliminates the conflicts and redundancies inherent in your model. Park smiled diplomatically. Different approaches work for different societies. Earth values its diversity of governance and culture. We find strength in our varied perspectives. The discussions continued for hours, gradually moving from political structures to scientific exchange. When the topic of FTL technology arose, both sides became noticeably more guarded. We are curious about your propulsion system, Zorix admitted. Our scientists have been unable to replicate the precision of your jumps. And we're interested in your long-range communication technology, Park countered. Perhaps we could establish a framework for limited technical exchange? By the end of the first day of negotiations, a preliminary agreement had been reached. Earth would be recognized as a sovereign entity, with rights to explore and colonize uninhabited systems within a defined region of space. In return, Earth would acknowledge the Empire's existing territorial claims and agree to abide by certain interstellar regulations. The matter of technological exchange remained unresolved, but both sides agreed to continue discussions. A formal treaty would be drafted and presented to Earth's governments and the Empire's High Council for ratification. As the human delegation prepared to return to their ship, Zorix approached Commander Park privately. Your species has surprised us, the alien diplomat admitted. We had classified your region of space as dead due to the absence of detectable advanced civilization. Now we find ourselves negotiating with equals. Park nodded. Perhaps there's a lesson here about assumptions and the unknown. Indeed, Zorix agreed. The Empire has grown comfortable in its certainties. Your arrival has been disruptive, but perhaps beneficially so. Back on the Earth command ship, Admiral Thompson received Park's report with satisfaction. So they're willing to recognize our sovereignty. That's a good start. They don't have much choice, Park pointed out. We've demonstrated we can outmaneuver their fleet, and they're still not sure how many ships we have back on Earth. Thompson smiled slightly. Let's hope they never discover we threw everything we had into this rescue mission. Those 12 ships represent our entire FTL-capable fleet. Sometimes perception is more important than reality, Park replied. As long as they believe we're a significant power, they'll treat us accordingly. Over the next several days, the treaty took shape, Earth would join the Galactic Council as an associate member, with full voting rights to be granted after a probationary period. The Empire would provide star charts and data on known civilizations, while Earth would offer limited information on its FTL technology, enough to establish scientific cooperation without revealing the key innovations that gave humanity its tactical edge. When the final treaty was signed, it marked not just the end of the crisis triggered by the Terra's Pride's detection, but the beginning of humanity's integration into the broader galactic community. 6 months later, Yelma found herself in a new role at the Zepyrian observation station. As the technician who had first detected the human vessel, she had been promoted to supervisor of the newly established Earth Liaison Office. Her days were now filled with coordinating the movement of diplomatic and scientific missions between Earth and the Empire. "Another ship request from Earth," her assistant announced, handing her a data pad. "They're sending a cultural exchange delegation to Zephyr Prime." Yelma nodded, processing the request efficiently. What had once been an anomaly, an unregistered ship moving too fast, was now routine. Earth vessels, with their distinctive blue energy signatures, were becoming a common sight in Imperial space. The integration hadn't been without challenges. Some factions within the Empire resented the special status accorded to Earth, while conservative elements on Earth feared the loss of human independence to the vastly larger galactic civilization. But the benefits of cooperation were already becoming apparent. Human FTL technology was revolutionizing Imperial transportation, while Earth scientists marveled at the biological and material sciences developed over the Empire's long history. Admiral Zal, now the Empire's primary military liaison with Earth, had developed a grudging respect for the humans and their adaptive approach to challenges. "They accomplish in decades what takes us centuries," he remarked to High Counselor Keel during a review of the partnership. "Because they're not bound by our conventions," Keel replied. "They question assumptions we've long since accepted as immutable. It's disruptive, but as you've noted, sometimes beneficially so." The partnership between Earth and the Empire continued to evolve, neither side fully trusting the other yet, but both recognizing the advantages of cooperation over conflict. Human ships ventured further into Imperial space, while Imperial delegations established permanent embassies on Earth. And far beyond the boundaries of known space, other civilizations took note of the unexpected alliance between the ancient Empire and the upstart humans. Some saw opportunity in this new paradigm, while others perceived a threat to the established order. The galaxy was changing, set in motion by a single blue dot on a monitoring screen and the courage of those who dared to venture into the unknown. Captain Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, stood on the observation deck of the newest Earth vessel, the Harmony. Beside him, Lieutenant Rodriguez, now Captain Rodriguez, gazed at the stunning nebula that filled the viewport. "Hard to believe it's been only 2 years since the Terra's Pride crossed the solar boundary," Rodriguez remarked. Morrison nodded. 2 years since we learned we weren't alone in the universe. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Yelma hadn't spotted us that night? If we just continued our exploration without encountering the Empire? Sometimes, Morrison admitted. But I think the encounter was inevitable. The universe is too vast for isolation to last forever. Better that we met as we did, with neither side firing the first shot, than through some less fortunate circumstance. As the Harmony prepared for its jump to the newly established Joint Research Station in the Vega system, Morrison reflected on the journey that had brought humanity to this point. From the first tentative steps beyond their solar system to their current status as rising players in galactic politics. Humans had maintained the spirit of exploration and cooperation that had defined the Terra's Pride's mission. The ship's AI announced the imminent jump, and Morrison watched as the stars blurred around them. The future was uncertain, filled with challenges and opportunities that no one could fully predict. But one thing was clear. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through conquest or submission, but through the courage to reach out and the wisdom to extend a hand in friendship. And somewhere, in the vastness of space, the blue dot of an Earthship continued to move across the monitoring screens of the Zephyrian observation station. No longer an anomaly, but a symbol of a new era in galactic history.